I know this is kind of a sensitive topic. Some people say leave them alone. Others say, well, maybe food here and there is okay. What do you think as a veterinary expert?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for talking about this topic. I think that it's very prevalent, and I'm excited to answer some questions from my perspective. What I think could be some solutions, and there's no perfect solution. There's to your point, there's a lot of layers to this subject.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the first question I have for you is just tell us a little bit about the prevalence of feral cat communities or strays that we experience just here in East Texas.
Yeah. I would just be real honest. It is very abundant in this area. It's widespread. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We have some widespread dumping of unwanted animals. And in the last couple of years since COVID, really in 2022, we saw a huge rise in this. And there's a lot of reasons to this. We think, a lot of people adopted pets during the COVID years, and then, we're unfortunately unable to take care of them, or unable to get procedures that prevent them from having more future babies, spaying and neutering. So local law enforcement, I know at least in this area, have been seeing a huge uptick in calls, almost doubled since 2022, on dumping of unwanted animals in the area. And it's really fueled by overpopulation, lack of spay neuter regulations, and that can contribute significantly to kind of building up that stray population that we see. And so it's very abundant here in East Texas.
And these animals, they see things that our at-home pets don't see. The lack of water or just lack of access to food and water, but they also have health issues that we might not see on the surface. I think mange is the first thing that pops in my head, but there's many other things to consider when approaching a feral or stray cat or dog.
Yeah, yes. Lots of different challenges that these guys face. A typical house cat, their lifespan is anywhere from 12, 15 plus. That's all in a bell curve. But stray cats or feral cats, their life expectancy is much lower, 2 to 5 at best. Much lower compared to our domesticated animals, just based on a lot of the challenges that they do see. And so, to your point, a lot of health issues, food access, water access. We have, this weather and environmental stressors. In this area, it gets really cold. It also gets really, really hot. And there's lots of parasites and diseases that, unvaccinated, uncared for animals, especially cats, such as feline leukemia, FIV, calicivirus, and then things that we vaccinate for, like rabies and distemper, which is in this area. And then you have to remember they're not spayed or neutered, so they're reproducing on top of that. And so it can layer in a lot of different places. And there's a lot of predators in the area. We have a lot of rural areas in East Texas. So coyotes, wild dogs, other wild animals also pose a risk to injury. And so their life is a lot different. Let's just say that.
Now, going to like just this past summer, the city of Jefferson passed an ordinance to fine residents who feed stray animals. It's in an attempt to kind of discourage overpopulation. As a vet, what is your perspective on this, or just some advice on addressing stray cats the ones that we come across day to day?
Yeah, and I don't know the specifics in Jefferson, the city of Jefferson. I'm sure there's some layered specifics that I don't have here in Nacogdoches or in Nacogdoches County. But and there's two sides to the story. So, the studies show that TNR, trap and release programs, they do work well when they're implemented. And, instead of, a more of a mass euthanasia, which typically creates a vacuum effect, if all those cats that are in that area go away because maybe they're not being fed, more will come in the area because there's less there. And so it creates kind of like a vacuum effect for where they're at. Now, again, it sounds like, in the city of Jefferson, the cats are being fed in a very high scene area, so by restaurants. And so that could play a part in not wanting to expose, patrons or people that are out of town to things like rabies, distemper. Like those are real risks that we see. I think from a veterinary perspective or a veterinary viewpoint, I think you have to have well-intentioned support for programs. TNR programs, if they're robust and they work, it'll gradually decrease the population while vaccinating and decreasing the chances of diseases. But it takes manpower, it takes finances. But the studies do show it works where it's implemented well.
And for those who, have those big hearts that see those cats and those dogs on the street and they want to do something, what is the best advice that you can give them and who want to help? Maybe, and you did mention the what is it, trap and spay or trap and neuter, TNR.
Yes, sooner.
Um,
Yeah.
what other things can we do to, try to give back in one way or another?
Yeah, and it's an animal welfare issue. It's a compassion issue. People see that we are humans, and taking care of animals is a very human emotion that we see. And so, almost every city or county has a trap and release program or a humane society. So instead of just offering food, I would contact your local humane society and see, can I donate food, and have them use it in the right way? Because a lot of these programs are feeding in a very specific manner in order to help capture them and trap them so that they can sterilize them and vaccinate them. And so I would truly reach out to your local humane society or your local track and release program, or ask. That's a good place to start. And see if you could, versus just giving food, donate food to them because they're doing it in a planned way.
I think that's such a great way of just taking that energy that you have and shifting it towards the experts who have been doing this and know what they're doing when it comes to attracting those animals. And I know a lot of places like Pets for People, for instance, they have a cattery that you can go in and help, you know, um, what is humanize is not the word, but get them
Plus,
less. Yes, thank you. Yes, and to get more comfortable being around people, especially if they've lived their whole lives outside. So that's a great way to shift that energy and put it somewhere that can be in really good use. Is there anything that we didn't really touch on or you think is important that we should all know when it comes to, how bad is it to just leave a can of wet food out in the backyard or, anything that we didn't touch on regarding strays and feral animals?
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, the bottom line is that, if you're wanting to help, your stray or feral populations in your area, just participating in support in either, Humane Society or Trap and Release program, because it does benefit the community from a One Health perspective. Communities that take care of animals, their humans, their studies show that the humans are healthier. And so really, thinking about how it's all connected in an ecosystem can really make a big difference. Our feral cats can help the population with rodent control. Which can be a big help and put less pressure on the native wildlife. On the flip side, they can spread diseases and things like that. So if you're going to take in a feral cat, I would be really very careful if you're trying to touch them, and make sure you take them to a veterinarian to get tested before you bring them into your home.
And I have to ask because this is a dream of mine. If one day, let's say a baby possum just so happens to fall off mom and mom is nowhere to be seen, could I take in that baby?
I would definitely contact the local wildlife rescue. I would not
Fair.
take the baby possum in, although there are some people that do that, and that is okay. But there are things that can be spread, and again, these are wild animals, so they should be living their very nice wildlife outside.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Meredith from the Nacogdoches Animal Hospital, keeping us in the know of what's going on and what we need to know when it comes to our pets and how we can best take care of them. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Have
Bye.
a great day.
You
Bye
too.
bye.